Hey, what's up, everyone? I want to welcome you to another episode of Here's What I Think with your host, Charles Tabansi, where we cover everything from current events, economics, politics, and how it all affects business and life. This is a very interesting topic that I've been itching to get to. Just unfortunately, yesterday we couldn't do it, but today I said we definitely have to touch on this. As I said at the onset, that we're going to be discussing economics and the economy and how all of these things are interconnected with politics and current events and all of that. And I came across a pretty interesting interview just the other day from Bloomberg Television. Now, as you guys know, if we kind of follow what's happening in the United States, especially with the political climate, there are some people out there saying, America is in bad shape, it's going to get worse and all of that. And there are some indicators when you look at the situation with immigration, how things have gone up and all that in terms of cost of goods, inflation and all of that. There's some concerns out there, right? And if you listen to what's said on television over and over and over, you will begin to get this heaven is falling, the clouds are falling impression of the United States, and you will begin to feel like, okay, well, is America losing its touch? Is it a terrible place to be? Is the sky falling? We don't know what's happening. So what happened? I came across an interview from BlackRock CEO Larry Fink, and he was speaking to Bloomberg, and he was talking about the economy. He was talking about the outlook. He was talking about how either presidential candidate may affect the economy if they got elected. But as I was listening to him, he seemed to have a positive outlook on the American economy in terms of its growth moving into the future. And as a matter of fact, he said that according to their research and their data and the analytics that they have that they've deployed, they believe that the U.S. is going to continue to grow at 2 to 3% despite all of the fears that some voters may have. So what we want to do is want to play a little bit of what Larry Fink had to say here, and then want to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to what he had to say here.
I don't see any landing. The economy is going to continue to grow at 2 plus 3%. I don't even know why we use a landing. Landing last time means it goes to zero. It goes, I know we use those words. It's really fun to talk about.
But it's not going to crash.
I've been very consistent. We're not going to have a hard landing, but I don't see a soft landing. We're going to continue. We're continuing to move and navigate it. But despite all that, there are segments of the economy that are struggling. There are segments of the economy that are doing really well. We spend so much time focusing on the segments that are doing poorly, and I'm not trying to suggest that's not the right thing to do, but we're not looking at it in the holistic way that other parts of the economy are doing really, really well. Look at corporate earnings overall. They've been very strong. And I think they're going to continue to be very strong. We do have segments of the economy that are very strong, and I think that's why I don't know why we talk about a hard or soft landing. We're continuing. We're going to grow at 2 to 3%.
It's the Fed watchers. Blame the Fed watchers because they're all.
Who are they? I don't follow them. By the way, let me just tell you one thing.
Right?
Let me just tell you, I think the forward curve is wrong. Okay. We're not going to see, and I think Chairman Powell said that yesterday. We're going to be patient as I think the amount of easing that's in the forward curve is crazy. I mean, I do believe there's room for easing more, but not as much as a forward curve.
So you heard what he had to say there on that. Now, as someone is following this election, people feel that, for example, either candidate could have a detrimental impact on the economy if they're elected. There's some people that feel like Trump will be fantastic for the economy. There are others that feel like, no, he won't be good for the economy with his tariffs. You have people that feel like Kamala Harris will be great for the economy with some of her initiatives. Others will be like, no, I think she'll be worse. She wants to increase taxes and all of that. So the interviewer ended up asking Larry Fink, look, do you think either of these candidates will have an impact on the growth curve of the United States economy if elected? And I want to play exactly what he had to say about whether or not he believes either candidate will affect the growth outlook of the United States. Take a listen to what he had to say here.
Both candidates have, in many cases, very similar views on making the U.S. even stronger. Both candidates, in their interpretation of how that may happen, may differ. Our job is to work with any political position. Our job is to be working with the U.S. government, like we're here in Germany. We're working with the German government. There's going to be an election here next year, too. our job is to be working with societies and building a platform together. And so we're not trying to make any judgments.
But you deploy capital differently under
Yes.
President Trump than under President Harris.
On the margin, not
That much?
No, I think we over conflate what it means. I mean, I don't think the U.S. is going to be pivoting that much depending on one outcome. We're not focusing on the day-to-day movements of markets. We're focusing on, is the U.S. an exceptional place to invest for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? That's what we're focusing on. Yes, there may be moments where you could have a 10% or even a 15 or 20% downdraft. Does that represent a major shift, or does that represent an opportunity? And so you have to look at it that way. In most cases, over the last 30 years, anytime you had a 10 or 20% downdraft, you wanted to be there standing by and buying. And those who ran away over a 20-year horizon have lost a lot of possible return.
So you heard his comments. Look, to me, I still think the United States is one of, or probably the number one economy to invest in if you are an investor. They have a very stable currency. So they're still growing in many areas. They're building homes all over the United States. The economy is still growing. You have companies that at one point were valued at $500 million. Now you have companies that are valued at over $1 trillion. The United States, in my personal view, is still one of the top economies in terms of if you're looking to invest into the future. And I'm not just saying this out of sentiment. For example, if you look at the S&P 500, which is an index of the 500 most successful companies in the United States across all industries, this is healthcare, banking, manufacturing, with all the industries is an amalgamation of companies. You will see that over the last 5 years, you will see the S&P has steadily been growing over the 5-year period. You can just go punch up this information in Google and you see it for yourself. So to me, if you look at that growth curve, it shows you that the economy is in a pretty good space because some of the top companies are still continuing to grow, which means that if the companies are growing, they're hiring more people, there are more jobs. So to me, I have a very, very positive outlook on the United States, regardless of who's in office. Regardless of who's in office. I also think it's important that I say this. At no point in time have I ever connected my success to whomever's in office. I never felt like the success I would experience in my life was determined by who was in office. It never was a factor in my day-to-day dealings. When I work on my business and I work on my ideas and I learn about new businesses, I'm not thinking about who's in office. I never consider that. I just think of what I have to do regardless who's president, because it's not like as if a candidate gets voted in that I'm hoping gets voted for, all of a sudden my life is going to change. I don't believe so. I believe that in order for my life to change, I actually have to do the work and not rely on anybody, whether that be a family member or any political leader. This is just my personal worldview on it. So what I want to know from you guys is simply this. Number one, do you think that the U.S. economy is in a good place and is going to continue to grow? Number one. Number two, when you're looking at your perspectives in terms of an individual and your financial well-being for yourself, maybe for your family, do you think that's dependent upon government or do you think it's dependent upon you? Whatever you guys think, please give your thoughts and comments in the comment section. We'll catch you guys on the next show.